Welcome to another episode of Hollywood Kitchen. I don't think there's such a thing as I've had enough Carole Lombard at all. You can't have enough Carole Lombard at all. So when the Hollywood Heritage Museum that I love decided to do a Ladies of Paramount exhibit, I couldn't resist the chance to do an entire episode dedicated to Carole. This is like the second or third one I've done, but again, you can't have enough. And I am so lucky today. Oh my gosh, I have got two Carole Lombard experts and collectors, Miss Carole Sampeck, who flew in from Dallas for this episode and to see this wonderful exhibit.
Oh, and to see you again, Karen.
Thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. And also to Debbie Bino, who is also collects on Lombard and has contributed memorabilia. We're going to talk to both of these ladies about how they first fell under Carole's spell, how they started collecting on her. We're going to talk about her food, her films, and we're going to get a sneak peek of what you can see if you come to the Hollywood Heritage Museum on this incredible exhibit, which opens July 5th. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Carrie.
So
exciting
yes.
to be here.
So Carole, tell me, I know you told me privately, but tell me what first led you to Carole.
I was about 14 and I saw Gone with the Wind for the first time. And as a 14-year-old girl will do, I saw Clark Gable and went, oh boy. And so I wanted to find out more about Gable. And as I was reading more and more about him, this name kept coming up about his third wife, Carole Lombard. And for some reason, when I saw that name, it just rang a bell in my head. And I thought, I need to find out more about this person. And so I read and read, and she just seemed to be such a cool lady. Just remarkable, not necessarily of her own time. She did things her way, and she was funny. She was engaging. She was really bright as far as the movie business, because she basically took herself into this man's business and made it her own. She negotiated her own contracts. She just did all kinds of cool stuff. So she was a cool lady.
Excellent. And Debbie, tell me, which road led you to Lombard?
I was watching some film and saw her in it, and we were talking earlier about her name being setting us off, and there is something about her name. I can't tell you what it is, but I started to research her life. I saw, obviously, she was so gorgeous, but when I started reading about the people, I only collect good people. Like my other,
as it should be.
Like my Ty. He's was such a wonderful person, as was Carole, but so unique and definitely not in her time. She is way ahead of her time. But funny things about her, that like one of her favorite things was paying her taxes. Yes, we can't. That's how much she loved this country. She wrote a little letter about it.
Wow.
And so to halfway feel okay about what happened to her, she was doing something that she wanted to. She was the first, casualty of World War II?
Yeah.
Yes. And so that just, from then on,
I've read the Robert Mattson book, and I thought it was so beautifully written because even though I knew how the story would end, I was sitting in bed with the book and I was just sobbing.
Yeah.
And just because he's painted such a vivid
right.
portrait of her.
Yes.
And one of the things that stood out to me was how many obstacles she overcame.
Yeah, right.
Like the car accident with the shattering the glass on her face. That could have been a career ender, if not a life ender.
Yeah.
And she overcame that. The Russ Colombo death, again, that was a big obstacle. I mean, she had a lot of major things happen to her, and she wasn't going to let anything stand in her way. And that's kind of part of the message I took from that book, is that she was someone who overcame a lot in her life.
She was very driven, determined. Nobody was going to mess this up for her. She wasn't mean about it. She just knew how to get what she wanted, and that's what she wanted.
I've always heard, and you guys can confirm this, that she tossed around quite a few choice curse words because it intimidated a lot of the men and thereby kept them from like sexually harassing her. They were so off put by her dropping F-bombs and so forth that they were like, oh, okay.
Right.
Is that true?
That's absolutely true. And especially when they wanted to entertain dinner guests, it would be pass the effing salt. Can I have some more of that effing salad? What's for effing dessert? She loved it. But it wasn't something she did to be mean. It was just to be funny.
It's too bad there was censorship and she couldn't have made a movie where she
I know. You watch some of the outtakes from the
Yeah,
films. She
those are
loved
great.
saying those, you know. And it's so natural for her.
Say those, and that sounded like.
Yeah, right.
Speaking of food, which we're just getting into food. So when I was looking in the recipes, if any of you go on the Hollywood Kitchen Show website and look it up, the first Lombard recipe I made was a cherry tart, which a friend found in this very obscure cookbook from 1933. It basically, when I texted a friend, she goes, "Wow, Carrie, you really burned that pizza." And I'm like, that wasn't a pizza. That was a cherry tart. So I screwed it up really, really badly. And I did a whole post about how Carole steered me wrong. And then it turns out she didn't steer me wrong. And it's kind of funny. But anyway, I got a friend in the classic Hollywood community. Shout out to Michelle Sebastian Price, who helped me course correct. And then Jenny Hamilton in England did a golden cocktail fizz of Carole's cocktail. Shout out to Jenny. And then I looked up, there was a barbecue spare rib recipe and angels on horseback. I'm not even sure necessarily what that is.
That's the oysters.
Oysters and bacon.
Bacon, yes.
There's one for lettuce soup. But then I found this book on eBay. It was called Hollywood Cookie Book. And it was like $300 something. It wasn't even a full book. It was like a little pamphlet. And I wrote to the seller going, "Hey, I'm doing this little project. I don't suppose there'd be a discount for me with her." And he goes, "I'll give you 10%. And I'm like,
oh boy.
For a $300 pamphlet, 10% is really not going to make a dent in my fortune. So he put up pictures of it and I took screenshots.
There you go.
But I couldn't help it. There were Carole Lombard cookie recipes. And I'm like, man, I got to jump the fence on that and do this. And there were 3 different cookie recipes, but the Scotch cookies kind of struck me as the right one to make.
I love shortbread.
And the shortbread,
Too. It's shortbread and it's so easy to make because a lot of these episodes, I have to track down ingredients, which has sometimes led me to some wild goose chases throughout the city trying to find whatever. But much to my amazement, it was butter, flour, and sugar, all of which were in the pantry at my apartment. So it wasn't hard to do. Now, she didn't list a baking time or an oven temperature, which very common in these old recipes, which, so what I usually have to do is look in other recipe books that are either vintage or maybe newer ones and kind of backtrack and go, okay, let me see based on what all these other people say. So I mixed the flour, sugar, and butter together, and I baked it for about 25 minutes at 300. And this is the flaky, buttery delight that I think we should do a cookie toast to Carole.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, to Carole Lombard.
To Carole Lombard.
And I will post the recipe. These are Carole Lombard's Scotch cookies from a 1936 cookbook.
Oh, this is wonderful.
We just need a cup of tea.
Very good.
Oh, that's marvelous.
Very good.
These are so easy to make and so good.
I love this.
But what do both of you know about her eating habits? Because I did find a fan magazine article, which who knows if it's any truth to it, but it's called like Carole Lombard's Balmy Home Life. And it talks about how much she loves to cook. And I'm reading it going, do I believe this or do I not? So
I think when she married him, her cooking was geared towards him, which was man food, steak, potatoes, potato salad.
She did comfort foods.
Yes. But in the early days, I was reading an article where she was giving a party and it was a buffet, and some of the things that were listed, like frog leg casserole and the angels on horseback and some other gross thing. I mean, I guess that's what the elite ate back then. I don't know, but it definitely was different than the ranch food.
You know what's funny is I've never done a standalone episode on Gable. However, my friend Christina Rice, she's the biographer of Anne Dvorak and Jane Russell.
Oh, okay.
She actually named her daughter Gable.
Oh,
And they've done some Hollywood Kitchen
Mm-hmm.
episodes with me. And every year I try to do an Oscar cook along where we all make recipes of either Oscar winners, nominees, or people who were unjustly shut out and deserve to be included. And so one year she said, I want to do a recipe, but it has to be Clark Gable in honor of my daughter. And I was like, okay, how cool. Problem is, they are vegetarians. And every recipe attributed to Gable is like
Yeah.
beef steak or, deer meat or what. They're heavy on the beef.
From the meat bearing animals.
Yeah, but I finally found a sour cream chocolate cake recipe attributed to Gable. And they made it and they actually loved it. So I kind of considered it this victory that I found a vegetarian Gable recipe. That was kind of not something you see often.
And I think the orange chiffon cake at the Derby was his favorite dessert there.
Ah,
We try that.
okay. We know they love the brown derby.
Yes, they did.
Very
That's their
cool.
favorite.
All right. So let me ask you guys about collecting because I have been so fortunate to meet a lot of collectors over my years of loving film history. And it always it's always amazing how and where you find things. So tell me how your collection began and what was the impetus or what started the ball rolling on that collection.
Oh, goodness. The primary focus of my collection is her personal things. I was lucky enough to meet her secretary and Gable's secretary, lady named Jean Garceau, towards the end of Jean's life. And she was pretty cool. She'd tell me about their home life, and she'd tell me that they like to listen to movie music at home, and that the primary thing she remembers about being out there was all the laughter. Saying they just were laughing all the time.
Oh my gosh.
And so I had been doing a little bit of collecting on my own just because I'm an acquirer of things. And after Jeannie passed on, then a friend of hers called me a couple of weeks later and getting verklempt and said that Jean had some things she wanted you to have. And I thought, well, great, I'll be a picture of something. Fine. And these boxes started arriving at my house. And in the boxes were very, very personal things. Her infant clothes that her mom had saved from her childhood in Fort Wayne. The Gone with the Wind hood that we'll talk about a little bit later. The lace scarf from Indianapolis trip. And it was all very serendipitous how it all came together. But I had been collecting autographs and what have you for who knows how long, forever, I think. One of the first things on my very first trip to Hollywood, went to, was it Marcy Siegel? At any rate, her store on Hollywood Boulevard. And it never occurred to me for some reason that old paper with writing on it would survive. I thought, well, what, how would that happen? It doesn't like crumble to dust or something. And the first Lombard autograph I brought home was from that trip to Hollywood. And it was gorgeous. And I just was enthralled. I couldn't stop. I was just obsessed. So that's kind of where mine got started.
I think personal items are really cool because obviously professional items, movie posters or
Mhm.
stuff related to their career. But when it's personal, they touched
They
it,
touched
they
it,
used
they held
it.
it, they did. Like I have a silver cigarette case of hers. And it's like, she flipped it open and got her little shorty cigarette out of it. It was just the thought of that. And that's why autographs appeal to me, is because you know that they touched it
Yeah.
and they did something interaction with it that speaks to me now, all these years later, that she did it.
And it humanizes them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like-
her signature green ink.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
She liked green ink.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is all I write with at work.
Oh my gosh. So Debbie, how did your collecting begin?
Well,
Carol?
I didn't have this kind of experience. I wish I would have, but it's come a little bit. I just, I bought photos on eBay and things like that, but I am also into the personal type things, and I love costumes. I just love costumes, but it's so difficult to find anything on her. It's almost impossible. I have bid on costumes walking down the hall at the hospital. I mean, because you have to do it when it's there. And so I'm so grateful to have that dress and some of the little things that I've acquired and that Carol's helped me get, the bracelet. And I love how she monogrammed everything. And it's not just a CL, it's a fancy CL, with
course.
lines and flowers.
She used a beautiful script.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
just lovely.
And yeah, it's so I do collect photos, but I'm really picky about the photos now. They have
Okay.
to be something very unique and special and something that I haven't seen over and over again, and original ones. And there's just not a lot out there of hers.
I like that you guys can share information because I've kind of met two different kinds of collectors in my travels. The one that's like, come over, look at my stuff, research, whatever. They're very open and very giving and sharing. And then I've met others who are very competitive and even vicious about it.
Yeah, I
where
know.
This is mine. You can't have it. No one else can have it. No one else can see it. It's getting buried with me. And it's like, but this kind of
But
belongs
what's
to
the point?
the world. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't share it with the world,
I
what's the
know.
point of having?
Carol graciously invited
Treasures.
me to her home about 9 years ago to show me some of these things.
Wow.
That we thought would take like an hour, and it was way over an hour. And when
We way undershot the runway.
yeah, yes, yeah. But when she pulled this scarf out, the goosebumps were, I can't even explain it.
I have had two little brushes with Carol, sort of. As I mentioned, one of the things I do is I go to assisted living centers and I talk to senior citizens. And one January, since it was the month she died, I was doing a whole lecture about her life and her films. And this little old man who's about 97 said, yeah, I worked with her. And I almost fell out of my chair on the floor because I was just so shocked.
Yeah.
He was an extra and a bit player in Hollywood from 1933 till 1943. And he was in Nothing Sacred. And I looked at a picture of him, I tracked down the film, and yeah, he's in the film. And
he was perfect for color film with his
red hair
right.
and his freckles. Because he has such a unique look. And he said it still looks that way, which I'll show you a picture. But I said, well, what was she like? What was she like? And he said, well, she was very nice to me, and she had a glass bottle of Coca-Cola, and she was drinking that between every take.
Yep.
So I thought that was funny.
Favorite, always.
And then Angie helped me. I was asked to do a presentation on the history of Los Angeles cemeteries for the Turner Classic Movies Festival back in April. And I was doing this with Steve Bean, and we'd gone to Forest Lawn and taken a whole bunch of pictures, but long story short, some of them didn't turn out quite as well, or they weren't as high res. And Steve said, Carrie, can you go grab X amount of pictures of these people? We need to upgrade our presentation.
Yeah.
So Angie very graciously went with me. And for those of you who grave hunt at all, you can't really get to Carole Lombard and Clark Gable's spot at all in Forest Lawn. You just can't. It's closed to the public. I think Carole had her hand on my shoulder. Right when Angie and I started walking in the door, a motorcycle gang showed up, and the security guard was kind of preoccupied with them. And Angie's like, let's go. And she just took me and we walked right back there. And I'm like this would under normal circumstances in no way happen. But the motors. I like to
What
think
was
Carol's
a
like,
motorcycle bunch doing at Forest
It's
Lawn?
such a shame that it's like that.
It
And
is.
like my grandma used to come out here all the time and we used to go to Forest Lawn all the time, but she liked the stained glass. I probably walked by those two a million times because you could do that then.
yeah,
And now I don't know if it's because is Michael Jackson?
he is
Yes,
there, and I think that's
I
part
think
of
that's
it.
part of
But
it, yeah.
like I live 5 minutes from that Forest
Mhm.
Lawn, and I think she and a lot of those stars would be thrilled if they
Yes.
knew people like
Mhm.
us still love them so much.
Yeah.
Right.
And to me, it feels very frustrating to be
It
kept
is.
away
It
from these
is.
people that you love. But I think she sent that motorcycle gang in a screwball comedy move on purpose. So Angie and
Sounds
I
like
could
her,
go
doesn't it?
and get a killer
Yeah.
photograph of her grave that would be at the TCM festival.
How fun.
It's just such a comical situation.
It's amazing how some of these things just sort of come together.
It really is.
Yeah.
So I could grab the laptop. Would you guys like to take a little bit of a tour of the?
Sure.
Let me see if we have any questions coming in. A lot of people that watch these seem to like them when we do it live because they want to talk and interact. So let's see. Okay, Jack's watching us. Okay, lettuce soup. Oi. You're right, Danny. That's a
Yeah,
big old
that's a-
oi right
Oh,
there.
dear heavens.
That's up there with the frog legs.
Yeah. Oh, Danny's saying just found the recipe for Gable's orange chiffon cake.
There you go.
Ooh, okay. All right. How long will this exhibit last? Oh, I've got to find that out.
Oh, this
think the
takes
next
3 months.
Yeah.
3 months. Okay. Very cool. All right. Well, we'll see if we'll check into the questions a little bit more in a moment. But in the meantime, let's take a sneak preview and get you guys to kind of walk us through some of the incredible
Sounds
treasures
good.
we're about to see. Okay. Where shall we start? Oh, I don't even know where to begin. Well, this piece is the one that stands out the most to me. Being a bit goth myself, I love this black lace veil. Tell me the story about it.
That was something that was taken on her trip to Indianapolis to sell war bonds in January of 42. They had expected her to sell maybe $200,000 of war bonds. And she ended up just whipping the crowd up and getting them going. She ended up selling over 2 million, which was way beyond anything they had expected. So this scarf was made for her to take to Indianapolis. She wore it in several of the photos that were taken there, called the last photo or what have you. When the plane crashed, the force threw some of the luggage up onto the cliff. It was about 70 feet up onto a cliff right above the impact site.
Wow.
And so almost everything that was in the plane or near the plane was destroyed, but there were a couple of things that survived. And this scarf is one of the few things that was given back to Gable.
It's just for me, it's almost equivalent of seeing like a holy relic. I mean, just knowing this was on that fateful trip. This is something she wore in the last photographs of her life. Wow. That is a really unique treasure. All right, what else would you guys like to show us?
Atlanta. Oh,
Okay.
This, I don't know if you can see the photo back there. In December of 39, the premiere of Gone with the Wind was done in Atlanta. And so, of course, the Gables were heartily invited to go. The night before the premiere, there was a junior league ball in Atlanta, which was a big social thing. And so Carole was wearing a beautiful black velvet dress and this hood thing on her head. And then the little plackets at the end of the ribbon is where she put her diamond and ruby clips
Oh,
that
yeah.
Gable had given her just a few weeks before that. And so they held these little plackets in place. And so this is the hood from that outfit.
Wow. So we've got one of the last pieces of clothing Carole ever wore. And then we have the clothing she wore or the netting she wore at the Gone with the Wind premiere.
Yeah.
Those are pivotal moments in film history here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
One of the things in here that I truly love is there was a portrait of Carole that George Horrell took. And it sat on Gable's dressing table at the studio. And on the back of it, they called each other Ma and Pa. So on the back of this photo, she wrote, "Pa dear, I love you," and signed it Ma.
Oh my
And
gosh.
every day that Clark was working, she would send him a red rose in a crystal vase, and he would always keep that next to this photo. And so we have the actual photo and then a copy of the front of the photo because I couldn't show both.
So this is the photo we're looking at right now that Gable kept in his dressing room.
Yeah. We're showing the back so you can see the original signature.
Oh, wow. That is really cool.
Let's see, what else would you like to know about?
Here's Carole with the gun. Tell me about the gun. It seems like she kind of went through a serious like hunting phase when she married Gable.
When she hooked up with Gable, she knew that she was going to need to be his companion rather than him being her companion.
Okay.
And she had been all about, going dancing and stuff like that at night. But when she hooked up with Gable, she knew that wasn't going to work because he kind of was a stick in the mud. But we're not going to say that. So she learned to hunt and fish and all the things that he loved to do because she thought that's where his other girls made mistakes. They said, "You're going to do this with me now," and he'd say, "No, thank you." So she learned to and shoot skeet and do fly fishing and just do a bit of everything, duck hunting. These were snapshots that were taken on one of their duck hunting visits up to, I believe, Oregon. And what we have down here, number 483 and 484, are their hunting licenses.
Oh my gosh. So Hollywood's reigning glamour goddess of screwball comedy like to get a rifle and go hunting.
Oh, she would just get mud all the way up to her nose.
I didn't see that coming, but hey.
She didn't mind staying out in a duck call for hours and hours. And she said, "I taught Clark something you can do in a duck blind that you didn't know you could there."
Wow.
So she stayed interesting.
Tell me about the scarf up here, the white scarf.
It's just one of her personal scarves. It's very beautiful. It was very dainty. All of her things were very classy and the way that she wore things and the way she tailored things and all her little touches, her little ways of doing things were just very, very classy.
So rubies and diamonds 1 minute and duck calls the next. That's what we're talking about here, right?
Yes, this is, matter of fact, let me move this over. This is the Gable family duck call. It's monogrammed, says CGC.
Okay.
I know it's dark, but it's there. And it still works. So now there's ducks on the street lining up.
You know you're fancy when your duck call is monogrammed. I would not even have thought of monogramming a duck call.
Isn't that a hoot? I think that is so funny.
I'm surprised it's not diamond encrusted, to be honest.
Rhinestones, get it bedazzled.
Right?
Get
your name in rubies on the duck call.
Okay, well that's it. Oh, this is a clip from a home movie.
Trying to get the computer down here to see it.
Let's see if I can pull this up.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Yeah.
Can you get that?
It's a little dark, but I'm okay. Okay.
But it's
mean-
a screenshot from a home movie that was done when they were out playing with their friends and hunting and doing carols in red long johns. And Clark is making like a boy duck. And she is
one
making
does.
like a cute little girl duck. And he's and she scampers away and he gets up close, she scampers away
The
and
duck's hanging over there.
so that's a fun movie when you can find it.
Oh my
So that's
gosh.
the story about the duck call.
Okay, well, let's move on to the case over here.
This is more, and
And-
we were saying how she did everything perfect and dainty and just so
Yeah.
feminine 1 minute and then out with the ducks the next minute. I found out that she was quite the perfumist, and there is a photo in the back of her dressing table. I'm not sure where that's at. I don't know if that was in the Encino Ranch or not, but she loved perfumes. She says that she bought several of them every month. She would open them all up. She didn't buy them for the bottles. She opened them up and she wore them, but she never wore the same thing like twice. She would rotate them. So those were a few of the different perfumes that she wore. The middle one, the tag from that perfume was found in the crash. So
Oh my gosh.
that is not, I didn't see that on her dressing table, but that's why that one is there.
By the way, these Hollywood patterns,
Yes.
I'm a vintage clothing
Yes.
collector. Those things go for a fortune
And
on
They
eBay.
didn't used to, but they do now.
They are highly sought
Yes,
after.
yes. And we have a beautiful little hat that's very popular here at the museum that Carole got for me. And we're not sure exactly where it's from. We think it's film made because of the colors.
Oh, yeah.
And pretty close to the made for each other type.
Oh.
Beautiful. I think they're, what are the gloves made out of? They're like
It's
doeskin? They're very soft. And this was given from a hunting friend of theirs.
Because Carol loved.
Yes, yes. The bracelet, again, you can see they've attached a little piece of what the bracelet looks like in the back. And again, the beautiful CL engraving, and that's ivory and amethyst, a very early piece of hers.
I'm feeling inspired to go have my initials
I know.
engraved or embroidered on like everything I own. That might be this
Again,
afternoon's
a
project.
coin purse with the initials on it. And some of the hankies.
Wow. I love the motion picture magazine.
Yes, that is so amazing. I've never seen that up for sale, and I grabbed it when I.
And the colors are so
Yes.
brilliant and it's in such perfect condition.
Yeah.
Some of my classic movie magazines, you touch them and
I know
they
fall apart,
crumble.
yeah. This is
Okay.
a little bit of the ranch life here, where they're used to entertain, and these are the glasses that are in the picture. They're not the exact glasses, but this is the pattern that they used. There she is with her roses against the white picket fence, like the Etoile de Holland rose that he planted 1.5 miles for her at the Encino Ranch. Again, a monogram like the duck whistle is on the napkin ring. It's a CGC. Everything was engraved.
Dang.
And up here shows a little bit of her early work.
Oh, wait, sorry.
Like the Arizona Kid with Warner Baxter. She's not even credited there, but that's her. So that's some
Okay.
of her early work.
And tell us about this down here, personal sheet.
Okay, so this is my little bit of Jean Garceau. A woman came to see the first exhibit that we had here at the museum when I had a few things of Carol's out. And she emailed me and she said, I saw that you had these beautiful items of Carole Lombard, and I have something of hers, and would you like it? And I just thought, would I like it? Don't I have to pay you thousands of dollars?
Right?
And so she told me what they were. She had them packed up and shipped off to me the next day. And she said that she went to Jean Garceau's apartment after she passed away with 3 other lady friends. There was a few things there, but the most valuable things were gone already. And I said, what were the most valuable things? She's just some books. But no one wanted the sheets. And I thought, oh my gosh, it was just kind of meant to be type of a thing. They're my most treasured thing. And so I let her know about the exhibit here, and she's going to come and see her sheets and have her credited also. Yeah.
Very cool. Let's look at some of we've got a few Carole Lombard screen worn. Let's look at this
Yes.
black dress.
That's from Fools for Scandal. And
Okay.
that little handbag was hers as well, and supposedly the hanky. I had it shadow boxed because I wanted to protect it.
Of course.
And there again, black crepe. There's a little dress underneath it that's a little jacket that goes, and she wears it with this big gigantic fur.
As one does.
Yes.
And let me guess, the initials are engraved inside the fur. I'm going
They
to put money on this,
they
Debbie.
probably were.
I'm putting money on it.
And that is another collector's gown from Fools for Scandal.
Wow.
Shirley Temple's dress from Now and Forever, where she plays the piano and sings "The World Owes Me a Living," and Carol's sitting in the back watching her. And then we have a picture of the dress, Gary Cooper and her in the dress. And then another collector's little jacket from The Princess Comes Across. And then we have 3 original one sheets from some of her films. Now and Forever, Fools for Scandal. And this one is, because it's foreign. It's the one with Terry Gray. Oh, in name only. Oh, in name only, yeah. Again, a dramatic part that oh, that. Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. So that was a mini tour. Obviously, this is tip of the iceberg on what this incredible museum has to show us.
You have to run, don't walk.
Yes, you did.
Run, don't walk.
Or fly like Carol did.
And also 4th of July weekend. I mean, come
Yes.
on, you've got free time, right? I mean,
Yes.
so this opens July 5th. And how many months is it running, Angie?
So it's 3 months, so the October 5th, or the first week of October.
Okay, so July 5th through the first weekend of October.
Okay.
I've
And
never seen so many costumes
For
anywhere.
46 costumes.
46.
In here, we have about 26 collectors that have one items. So
That's marvelous.
that you'll never see.
Right.
Yes, and it's got so much from the movie related items to the personal items. And again, I love these personal items too, because a lot of museums wouldn't go down that road. And I
Right.
think it humanizes them.
Well, it tells a story.
Yes, it
And
does.
you can get into their backstory and what kind of people they were and who they were.
And the Academy Museum was offered these sheets that we just looked at, and they refused because they weren't film used or had anything to do with movies. And it would be nice. People would love to see things like this in a big, any setting.
Well, it brings them to life,
But-
and
this is such a personal little barn. I think this is the perfect place for these personal things.
Sorry, Hollywood.
Yes, yeah.
It wasn't inspired, they have the studio
Right.
system here in Hollywood.
And we can feel Carol working out in this barn.
yes, absolutely. So what is your most favorite Carole Lombard film, if you had to pick one?
That changes almost every day. Because people have asked me, if you're going to tell somebody who doesn't know much about Carole,
Exactly.
what do you
Exactly.
recommend that they watch?
Yes.
And if you want to show the goofy side, and she could be incredibly goofy. My Man Godfrey is a wonderful film to start with, but she really sounds like she's defective. That's as politically appropriate as I could say. She talks like a crazy person.
Yeah.
But then the In Name Only
Yes.
is for
So good.
a side of her that was not acting goofy.
Mhm. Yeah.
So those two for me, I think.
I like Made for Each Other that she did with Jimmy Stewart. I mean, I could watch that movie every hour of the day. It's so cute.
It's a
just
charming
cute, and they
film.
work
It
so
really
good
is.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. I love Vigil in the Night also. That's my nursing career, kind of. I love that, but she's so good in drama. She's good in everything, but she didn't have that many dramatic roles, and that one is so good. So those are probably my two favorites.
I think mine, I love 20th century.
Yeah.
Oh my, I quote that line, I close the iron door on you. I say that anytime I'm mad at someone, that comes out of my mouth. And she and John Barrymore are just, oh, fantastic in that film.
Some of the costumes in there too. Pick the
Oh,
photos from that movie.
gosh,
Gorgeous.
I love that movie.
Mhm.
And I love Nothing Sacred.
Nothing Sacred is fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, just seeing Carol in Technicolor. And,
Mhm.
oh, just.
and we have that script here.
Yes, we do. That
Uh-huh.
script is one of the many treasures in there.
I was looking for the little boy in there, but they don't name the cast.
I'll show you. I'll show you. But all right, let's see if we have any more questions or comments coming in here. Let's see. Check. And by the way, I'm sure you guys will probably be fine checking in on Facebook to see if anybody else has asked anything else. Okay. Leslie says, fantastic collections. Thanks for sharing these treasures with us. Yes.
Leslie, you are quite welcome. I am
Yes.
happy to show things.
Yes.
Danny says, wow, this collection is off the charts.
It is.
Christine Pachura says, Wolf Creek in Oregon claims Gable and Lombard stayed there on their Oregon hunting trip.
They did.
Mhm.
They did. Confirmation.
Yeah.
Ah, very cool. All right. Excellent. Okay. Well, that's all the questions for now, but I'm sure many more will come pouring in. And I can't thank you guys enough. I know you flew in to do this. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
You're so welcome. I was really happy to do it. It was a serendipitous event. That's my favorite word today.
I love
When
that.
things fall into place, for me, it's unusual.
Same.
But it just sort of all worked out.
It did.
Excellent.
Yes,
Debbie
yes.
and Carol, thank you so much for
You're
joining
welcome.
us.
I always
Thank
try
you,
and
Mary.
bring a bit of Carol to each exhibit that the museum
As you
has.
should.
Yes.
As you should.
And tied to, yeah, they'll be in some corner.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Hollywood Kitchen. You can find me on Patreon or buy me a coffee. All proceeds help to buy ingredients so I can test fake and get this show rolling. And thank you guys so much.
Welcome.
Please stay tuned
And fun.
for more food, fun, and film history. And get yourself down to the Hollywood
Yes, for
Heritage
sure.
Museum.
Absolutely.
It's a gray barn. It's directly across the street from the Hollywood Bowl and HollywoodHeritage.org. This museum is fantastic and worth supporting.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.